Today's video is going to be all about how to fight a horde of Fulings when they're coming at you and you have maybe one or two Berserkers, several Shaman, and a load of Fulings, both ranged and melee Fulings. They're attacking you all at the same time. You feel a bit overwhelmed, a bit overrun. This is going to be a step-by-step guide on how to give yourself the best chance of survival. Now, just to say, I'm going to be using all of my gear, tools, weapons, armor, food, all of that stuff will be everything you can get before you even go to the plains. So there's going to be no black metal stuff here or lockscapes or anything like that. This is all stuff that you are able to get before you go to the plains. So you should be able to do this from your first time entering into the plains biome. I'll also say that whilst this is specifically about the Fulings in this video, this will work for any time you're against a group of mobs. So if you're currently at the stage where you're in the swamp, if you have a load of the swamp mobs coming at you, this will still work for you if you imply the principles that you see today. So let's jump straight into it. As I mentioned, I'll be doing this with just equipment that you can get before you even reach the plains biome. And as you can see from my inventory here, I am traveling pretty light, but let's go over some of the stuff that I recommend that you take. The Frostner is a great weapon, especially when you're dealing with multiple enemies at once. The reason being is every time you hit an enemy with it, not only does it do a great amount of damage, but it will also give them a slight freeze effect and slow them down in their tracks. As you can see, this is very useful when you're going to be fighting against lots of mobs at one time, because it sort of slows down at least one or two of them and enables you to either give them a second hit without them like being dangerous towards you, or to move away from them, whatever you need at the time. I also recommend that you take the best shield you possibly can. So I had the silver shield lying around, which is level 3. You could of course upgrade that further if you wanted to. And a really good bow is also quite useful. And I'm just going to be doing this with fire arrows. Now you could do better arrows than this at this stage of the game if you wish. I just wanted to sort of make a point that it is possible even with fire arrows. And really the most important thing is to be upgrading your stuff here and not worrying too much about the arrows. Now when we come to armor, you can see here I've got a Drake helmet and then the rest of it is just wolf armor. It is all fully upgraded, but this is completely doable before you reach the plains, and it is something highly recommended by myself in order to do this in a way that's going to keep you alive. Now let's talk about the food. So the food here, again, you could do better food than this, but again, I'm just trying to do this with the minimum amount of things possible to really show you that it is possible without needing too much high-end gear. So we're going to go just for onion soup, some sausages, and some carrot soup. So that's all we're going to have on us for food. But the really important thing about all of this, guys, is the meads. Now the healing mead is essential. The stamina mead, maybe not so much, but it has come in handy for me at times. And it's one of those things that when you need it, you need it. Now what I recommend you do is you probably hotbar these as well, because if you need to very quickly use them, that time when you open your inventory and have to right click, it's only like a second, but sometimes that's the difference between staying alive and not. So have them hotkeyed and ready to go. So that is actually it for the equipment that I'm taking. As you see, traveling very light here. The only other thing that I would say is do make sure that you have a portal. So have a portal at your base and have another portal at the plains area, so that if you do die, you can at least portal back there. So your priority when you land in the plains or first get there is to make up a safe portal. I've covered this a lot in previous videos, but you guys know the drill. Portal down, put a good fence around it, and then at least you can get yourself back there if you need to. Just a couple final notes, guys. It is of course worth making sure you have your rested buff the best you can get it. Now I'm going to have 15 minutes of the rested buff. You can definitely get more than this before you go to the plains, but again, I'm erring on the side of making this very hard for myself in order to show you guys what is possible. The other thing I would say is the best way to get that rested buff is to sleep in your bed, and the reason is because then when you set off to the plains, you go straight through the portal, you're there, and it's first thing in the morning. This will minimize the amount of nighttime that you have to spend in the plains, because the mobs that spawn at nighttime are more frequent and more dangerous. And of course, when you have these Fuling raids, as you're going to see later in this video, it's not necessarily all about the mobs that start to attack you, but as you're running around fighting them, you may run into other mobs. Could be other Fulings rolling around, or it could be, you know, locks or death skeetos or whatever. So that's why I highly recommend that you do this first thing in the morning if possible. And finally, do make sure you have your bone mass ability. That is obviously something that's easily done before the plains and is super helpful, because the bone mass ability means you will take less damage. Don't activate it until you get very close to the Fulings. I would wait like right until the last second, because it is one thing that you really want to maximize during this fight that will really help to keep you alive. Okay, here we are, guys. I've got about 14 minutes of my rested buff left. I've had some food and it's slowly starting to build up my HP, so we're about ready now. I'm going to head through to my Yagluth portal, as there is a plains biome there, of course, and this is one where I haven't explored too many of the Fuling villages. So I'm going to run around now until I find a Fuling village, and then we're going to get straight into all the tips on how to actually handle these all at a time. Oh, I've actually spawned in one. I forgot I moved my portal here, so now I've got to find a different one. Let's see how we do. I'm just approaching a Fuling village now, as you can see, and there's a few things I want to mention about your approach. Now, if you find yourself where you've just accidentally somehow stumbled into a village and you've suddenly got all these Fuling after you, then just skip ahead to the bit of the video where I talk specifically about the combat. But I do want to briefly touch on what you can do before you actually get to a Fuling village to help you out as well. And I did make a full plains guide video on my channel that goes into that in a lot more detail. So we can talk about that a little bit in today's video, but if you want to see the full thing, then you can check that video out. But just to say, what I recommend you do is actually use your bow and arrow to snipe off as many fueling as you can before you start to go into the village. That way you can actually pick them off one by one without there being too much trouble. The other thing is to look at the terrain and look at the things around the village. Now, the reason we do this is a couple of things. I've already spotted this big boulder over here. This is going to be a great place for me to jump up later and give myself a little bit of rest if I find that too many fueling are coming after me. The other thing, I can see over there are some growths, so I know I want to avoid that area unless I specifically want to kite the fueling over there to fight them, because obviously the growths could attack me. I'm going to show you all this later on in the video, but I just wanted to mention those couple points before we get into the combat. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot an arrow at the big guy, and obviously this will not kill him, but it will alert him and the other mobs around him. There should be a big horde that comes at us. Let's try and just shoot away at, like, I want to shoot near some other mobs as well, just to get a lot of mobs coming at me here to make the point for this video. So I'm going to hit 1 and 2. So I've got my stuff ready there, my sword and my shield, or my Frostner and my shield, and I've got the bone mass going. So the guys are coming at us, right, thick and fast right now. So the first thing to do is give ourselves a bit of distance from them to see what's happening. Now, as they start to come, what we want to do is try and avoid their hits, especially the big guys. And when he's going crazy, we can focus on some of the other feelings around the side here. Now, I'm missing quite a lot here, which is not recommended. But you can see here, I'm just sort of running away, making sure I keep my distance. And I can use the natural terrain here, like the boulders and things, to keep them at bay and then give these guys some hits when they come close. But most of it is about running away at the right times and not overdoing things, because if you do, that is when this guy can get you. And if the Fueling Berserker hits you, that's when you're really in trouble. But as you can see here, I'm just picking off these Fuelings, and we've got the growths involved, which I actually didn't mean to do, but I was going to talk about this. The growths now will fight some of the Fuelings, and they'll fight back, and they'll basically kill each other. So that is kind of good, because you're actually getting some of the work done for you. But usually with this many Fuelings coming after you, you might think you're about to die. If I've got 2 more Berserkers coming there, which I think I might, then I may actually die in this video, which would be super sad. But let's see how we're going to actually deal with this. So what we want to do is try to pick them off in a like the smartest way possible. So what we want to do is try and like whittle down their numbers. So when we've got some that hit, okay, there was a Death Skeeter there. Now, that actually brings me on to a point here. This video is going to be a little bit chaotic in terms of my explaining, because I'm doing this organically. I haven't set anything up. This is just a, one of the plains villages in my world, and I'm just sort of showing you this as we go. Now, you see there, I took care of the Death Skeeter as a priority. I recommend that if you run into a Death Skeeter or Lox or something like that, you do take care of those as a priority. But what I'm trying to do is find the Fuelings here and prioritize when one comes near me, hit the one on the lowest HP to try and get their numbers down. So this one here I want to hit. And if there are any Shaman in the group, you want to deal with them first, because Shaman can obviously help the other Fuelings nearby. So again, here now I need to save my stamina. The other thing as well, you never want to let your stamina get too low. You always want to have the option to run away when you need to. Fueling there's on low health, but I can't get closer because of the Berserker. Again, we prioritize the health. Now he's frozen with a Frostner. I got a hit in on him. Now I'm going to kill him. This dude here, I managed to parry him, so I want to hit, but I need to... Okay, that was a bad hit. So now I need to just take a couple of hits and just slowly get away, let them come close as they can, and then use my stamina to sprint. So this is an occasion here where we'd consider using a health mead, but what I'm actually going to do is come pick this guy off. He's super low. Might be able to get a couple of hits on that one. There we go. Yeah, he's gone. Let him come close. There we go. Time that just about right. And you can see what I'm doing here. I can let them come close and then hit them away. Now, at the moment, what we've got is just 1 Berserker and 1 Fueling left. So I'm just going to keep dodging this guy and take on the Fuelings. And the Berserker, as you see here, is the last thing I'm going to do. And the reason for that is if I just walk back like this, I can shoot him with fire arrows from a distance. And as you can see, even with fire arrows, it does a reasonable amount of damage. Like, not great, but it's enough. Then we just run away and we keep doing this. And the best time to do it is if we can get him to do his big attack, because he stands in one spell for a very long time. So I want to save my stamina for that. But he's not doing it just yet. He's still doing the small one. So when he does the small one, we'll definitely get a hit on him. Is he about to do a big one? Maybe. Let's have a look here. Yeah, so now when he's doing a big one, he's going to stand there. We could probably get at least 2 or 3 hits in on him before he starts coming towards us again. And there we go. Now, just to say as well, you can melee these guys if you want to. So if he's just doing a normal hit, you can block it, give him a couple of hits, and that actually does a good amount of damage. The only thing with that is if you try and get too close to them and melee them and you get it wrong and that hit gets you, it is going to do a huge amount of damage. But this is why I like to save them until the very end. So during that fight, you were able to see there how I was able to deal with a lot of Fuelings all in one go without having, loads of end gear, or end game gear, I should say. And I've done this quite a few times on my live stream as well, which actually where the motivation for this video came from. But what I'd like to do is actually just talk quickly a little bit about the strategy, the overall sort of ideas that you want to have in your head when you're coming to do this yourselves. So firstly, most importantly, guys, is not to panic. You just need to try and stay calm and go through the process. If you panic, you'll make bad decisions and you'll click the wrong buttons and stuff like that, and you'll get yourself into trouble. Yes, it is going to be difficult, and this I'm okay at this because I've had a lot of experience doing this. I've played this game quite a lot, obviously, but it is doable. It is achievable. Just try and remain calm and think through the process. And that process starts with running away. Now, sometimes you'll actually be able to run away entirely and just get completely away from all of the mobs, and maybe go back through your portal or something and have another go. But if you find that you're running but you're not really able to outrun them, or you want to try this, you want to try and take them down, then still running away is important. You need to keep your distance and fight on your terms. So when they get near you want to try and land some hits on them, like just as they're coming into range, without letting them get close enough to do any damage to you. Damage limitation is the most important thing, because if you get too close, especially if a berserker, if that gives you a hit, if you end up getting yourself a bit staggered or whatever, that's when you're going to come into trouble. The second thing is talking about the order that we're going to take these feelings down in. So shaman are always the first ones you want to go for because they can heal the ones around them. Then after that, you want to go ahead and kill the ranged feelings if you can. Now, when I'm saying all this, just remember that if you have a good opportunity to hit any feeling, then go for it. Especially a big group like that, you just want to pick them off. But, I'm just saying, in an ideal world, you want to get rid of the ranged ones, because sometimes it can be hard to see their attacks when they're coming, and a spear's been thrown at you through a group of other feelings. It's not always easy to see. So if we take those out, then it's going to be a bit more helpful to us. And then the other ones have to get close to us to melee, and that's easier to fight them on their own terms. The other thing is, once you start to damage the feelings, try and get rid of them, right? Try not to give them all one hit and then give them all a second hit. Try and give one of them a couple of hits until he's gone, then another one a couple of hits until he's dead. So that way you're getting their numbers down. And obviously it is a numbers game, because the more there are, the more damage that can be done to you. Whereas once you start taking them down, then that damage is not able to be done to you. Other things to think about is to make sure you don't let your stamina get too low. It's very tempting sometimes to try and get an extra couple of hits in, but if doing that means that you're going to sacrifice stamina and be down to a point where you're not able to run away or jump or whatever, I'd recommend you don't do that. Because again, it's about limiting the damage. If you waste all your stamina, you can't run away, you're going to take a big hit, and that's when you might die. And finally, it's just be aware of your surroundings at all times, and that includes everything. So if you are able to eat food, save up some stamina so you can run far enough away that you can quickly eat some food. Remember that you have meads. If you need those meads, that's what they're there for, and they have saved me so many times in Valheim. It's unreal. So they're very useful. You can use the terrain. You can use things like boulders. You can jump up on top of them. Now, feelings can, get up on top of the boulders and stuff, but it might just give you a few seconds of rest there while they're sort of trying to climb up, and you might better hit a couple of them as they're coming up to you, because you've got that advantage of the higher ground. The other thing you can use is forests, and if you get in amongst the trees, this will scatter the feelings a little bit, and also it's like an extra block against their attacks, because you can hide behind trees, so that will block their attacks and their spears and such, rather than having to use your shield, because that will use some of your stamina. And also sometimes you might just mistime it with your shield, but the trees there can help you with that. So guys, I really hope that today's video has helped you out a bit. Please do leave any comments if you have any questions or that sort of thing. This is a bit of a different video today, more of a combat focused video, and it's sort of something I'm trying out here, and I've just realized I don't have my pants on. Aha, that means they're not on for the thumbnail picture. So if you spotted that, then well done. But anyway, moving on from that, so thank you for watching, guys. As I say, a bit different video today, so if you like that, please do let me know in the comments and such, and I'll answer as many questions as I possibly can. The dad jokes are of course coming, but I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. My girlfriend said I should do lunges to stay in shape. I said that would be a big step forwards. I only seem to get sick on weekdays. I must have a weekend immune system. I just found out I'm colorblind. That news came right out of the purple. What do cows read with their breakfast? The Moose paper. Where do pirates get their hooks? Second-hand stores. I hate my job. All I do is crush cans all day. It's so depressing.